Hi everybody! So today we're talking about my movies I saw in the month of December in the theater. And I've done this series every month of this year, so you can go back and you can look and see what I saw in the theater all the way from January all the way till December. So take a look at that playlist. I'll put a link in the description section. And December was a really fun, different month. I saw some classics, I saw some special events, I saw some new films, and so it was really different. So let's start out with the first film I saw in December, which was a classic film. And I saw Roman Holiday on the big screen, and this was a total delight. Of course, it has Audrey Hepburn, who I love so much, playing a princess who just wants a break from all of her responsibilities, and she ends up going out into Rome and meeting Gregory Peck, who's a newspaper man who is just so wonderful in the film, so delightful. And he's trying to get sort of the scoop on her, but they end up becoming friends through the course of the weekend. And it's lushly shot in Rome by William Wilder, and it makes you want to go to Rome even all these years later. It's just really sort of escapist, fun, well acted, really likable characters, and a really nice romance with an unpredictable ending. So the next film that I saw in the theaters is In the Heart of the Sea, and this is directed by Ron Howard. And I did a review on this channel of it, and I didn't care for it. I didn't like it. It was really gross. It was long. The action scenes were muddled and confusing. I felt that the acting was pretty good, but it just wasn't enough to kind of carry the picture, because I thought that the special effects were very poor, and you could see green screen a lot of the times. It looked like something shot in a studio pool, not in the great ocean. So that was very disappointing. And I saw in the theaters was Room, and it was based on the Emma Donoghue novel, which I also read, and I thought that the movie was very strong, had great performances. Jacob Tremblay and Brie Larson, great in the performances, and I thought that all the way up through the escape was awesome. And that's basically how I felt about the book. I loved the book up and through the escape, but then the section that is sort of the section that's her adjusting back into life after getting out of Room, I didn't think was as strong, because I think that you run into a problem with it being narrated by a little boy, which works so well in the Room sections, and sort of creating this great tone, but then you just don't see the same kind of growth and change and responses and stuff don't outside of Room. Then if I wish they had transitioned into the ma talking for that part of the book / movie, because I had the same problem with the book. There was obviously a lot going on with Ma that I wish I had gotten more insight into than just a little boy can possibly translate. So that's my only problem. Joan Allen is really good in it, in a smaller part. And Brie Larson and Jacob Tremblay, you can't say enough good things about their performances. It's remarkable, and it's very well made, very well shot. It's devastating, and I have to say, when I went to see it, right when it gets up to the point of him jumping off of the truck, the evacuation fire alarm or whatever went off in the theater, and so we all had to leave. Can you imagine? And it was weird because I didn't realize how sort of worked up I had gotten and how into it I had gotten. My heart was racing, and I've never really had at a theater things just stop like that, and had a chance to sort of monitor how I was feeling and how wrapped up I was in the story. So that was sort of an interesting thing to happen. And then so we were finally able to, once I calmed down, and once everything was settled about what was going on, we were able to go back in and finish watching it. So that was really funny. But the next movie that I saw in the theaters was Star Wars: The Force Awakens, and I've talked about it quite a bit. I've seen it 4 times. I loved this movie so much. And some people are like, oh, it's not that original. I didn't care at all. To me, it had so much that was original wrapped in a traditional package. You had Finn, a stormtrooper who is dissenting and rebelling. We've never had that before. That was awesome. We've never had a strong female character like Rey. Even though Leia was strong in her own way, she really wasn't that strong, and she wasn't a central lead character. She was more of a side character. BB-8, so cute. And I really liked Kylo Ren, that he is battling with the lightness. It's not somebody who's like tempted by the darkness. He's fighting the lightness within him, which was really good. Han Solo was great. All the returning characters were great. The way they shot the action was super awesome. It looked great. I had a few little issues with Snoke and Captain Phasma and a few things like that, but overall I was just so entertained by the film, and I'm so excited for episode 8 and for Rogue One coming up. It's going to be awesome. So yeah, I loved, and it improves every time I've seen it. Like I said, I've seen it 4 times. I like it more and more each time I see it. And I notice new things each time I see it. And so you want to check out on Sunday, Abby, Jeremy, and I are going to be doing our discussion about The Force Awakens, and we're going to go all into it. It's going to be really fun. 5 o'clock Mountain Time. Film that I saw in the theaters was actually not a film. This was a special event from Fathom Events, and it was George Balashine's New York City Ballet production of the Nutcracker. And I wanted to go see the Nutcracker, but Ballet West, which is one of the best ballet companies in the whole country, is very, very expensive for Nutcracker. It's like $100 to get a ticket. And so I couldn't afford that this year. And so this was sort of a good second option to be able to go and see a staged version, even if it was on the screen. It really wasn't that different than looking up at a stage versus looking up at a screen. And the sets and of course, all the dancing is amazing, and the music is gorgeous. And it was really fun. You got some behind the scenes of how they put it on. And so that was something different that I never done before, and I really enjoyed seeing the Nutcracker for Christmas. The next film that I saw in the theaters was It's a Wonderful Life. And I saw this last year on the 24th and on the big screen, and this year I also saw it on Christmas Eve. And to me, it's a really beautiful story. It's one of my probably top 20 favorite movies ever. Just the story of George Bailey figuring out that not only that his life has meaning, but that his life of sacrificing for his friends has paid off in dividends. And it's sort of the end message Clarence tells him is that no man is a failure without friends. Is so moving to me as somebody who doesn't have my own family. Like, my relationship with my friends is really important to me. And Clarence, he'd been focusing on the things that he hadn't been able to do and the things that he hadn't experienced instead of the things that he had. And so I find that very moving, and it's of course really beautifully shot by Frank Capra, and a great performance by Jimmy Stewart. He hits a lot of notes. A lot is required from him of the performance, but I think he's brilliant in it. And Donna Reed and the whole rest of the cast is wonderful. And it's basically a modern. It's a fable. It's a fable. This is a man who's going to commit suicide. So of course it's somewhat over the top. It's not a time to be subtle. And so I loved it. It was a wonderful time to spend on Christmas Eve. And then the final movie that I saw this month in December was to see The Big Short. And this is based on the Michael Lewis nonfiction account of the people who were able to see the signs of the housing crisis in 2008. And they were able to short the system so that they were able to basically bet and win on the fact that they knew that it was going to go down, and a lot of them tried to get people to listen to them, but then people wouldn't listen to them and they thought they were crazy. And it's got a great cast: Christian Bale, Ryan Gosling, Steve Carell, Brad Pitt, many, many more people. Adam McKay is the director, and he's only done comedies pretty much up until this, and this has comedic elements. It can be quite funny, and it takes a lot of artistic risks and choices, which I did appreciate. I liked the fact that the characters broke the fourth wall a lot and explained these very difficult concepts to the audience. And I actually thought they could have even done, as far as they'll have these stops where Margot Robbie's in a bathtub explaining, or Selena Gomez is explaining something. And I actually think they could have done a little bit more of that, because you only have these two characters that aren't in the movie explaining. Happens twice, and I think if it had been like 4 or 5 different times, I think it might have felt a little bit more smooth than to have it just happen twice. But a lot of the other breaking the fourth wall are the characters talking, and it worked on that level. And I thought that there was just real heart and emotion, especially the Steve Carell character. He feels really conflicted about what they're doing. And, you have Christian Bale, who is basically has Asperger's and is this sort of kooky investor. And everyone thinks he's crazy, but then people hopefully then, but he's vindicated, in the end. Scene when the Brad Pitt character, who's sort of this recluse who decides to help these two investors, and he just says, stop celebrating. You're celebrating the downfall of the American economy. And so there's always that sort of feeling within the movie that it knows it's not a laughing matter. And the only flaw I have with the film, because I did really enjoy it and I learned so much and I loved the book and I thought it was about as good as you could do in applying this particular book into a movie. But the only real problem I had with it is that I wish they hadn't had such R-rated content in there, because I feel like it's one that you're angry after you see it. You want to talk to people about it. You want to show it to people, but there's no way. Most of my friends, there's absolutely no way I could recommend this film to them, because it's just got too much profanity and it has too much nudity in stripper scenes in particular. And so, there's no way they could see it, which is a real shame, because they're going to miss out. A lot of them probably aren't going to read the book, and so they will miss out. I feel like that content added really anything to the story. I don't think it was needed. And so I think that was a bummer. I wish because it's the kind of thing you could see showing in like a high school, but there's no way you could with this content. So that's unfortunate. I think that the film's Inside Job and Enron, The Smartest Guys in the Room, they're both documentaries. I think they do a little bit better job of explaining the situation and explaining the math and everything behind it. Of course, they're not trying to craft a narrative, a story, but they do kind of in their own way. And they're excellent documentaries. If you haven't seen them, definitely check them out. So that's kind of what I end up having to recommend. I'd recommend The Inside Job, not this film, to most of my friends, because I just couldn't. So what do you think about these films that I saw? Some old, some new, some special events, some all different stuff. So let me know in the comments section. And thanks so much. Please subscribe to my channel. I'll talk to you later. Bye.